Wait, we gotta make sure.
Well, we on, so fuck
We
it.
good. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Okay, we fixed the
We
audio. We back. We doing this shit all over again. No, I'm just bullshit.
No. Taylor,
Yo,
what made you want to pursue this career in the first
that's a
place?
great question.
Word.
So like, oh god, I gotta go back a ways. When I graduated from college, I didn't know what the fuck I was gonna do, and my whole thing was I really wanted to like, in my mind, I wanted to help people. So, but again, I really needed to find a job because I was one of those people that like, I went to a really good school in New Hampshire, and a lot of the kids that I went to college with had plans. And by the time graduation came, I did not have one. I just figured I would go back to
What school did you go
Philadelphia.
to?
Dartmouth College.
Okay,
It's,
I had a buddy of mine who went to Dartmouth.
Yeah, I'm an Ivy League educated person. I'm very intelligent. But so
My buddy's an astronomer from there.
dude, oh man, I'll remember to talk about the astronomy class I took there, and I regret not majoring in astronomy. We'll come back to that. Anyway, so I majored in psychology and also in what we call the government. It would be called political science anywhere else. And I got a double major, graduated. I was like, I don't know what the fuck I want to do. I took the LSAT twice and was like, I don't want to go to law school. Scored well on the LSAT, but I don't really want to do this law school shit. So I went back home. The IRS was advertising in the paper at the time. It's one of the last jobs I remember ever seeing advertised in the paper. So I applied, got that job, worked the IRS for 3.5 years. And then from there, I actually started working for the Department of Public Welfare, DPW. Anybody out there get your food stamp cards? I was out there handing them out. That was my job for almost a decade. So I was an income maintenance caseworker. That's what they call those. And I did that for almost 10 years. And it took me a long time to get promoted, but eventually I got promoted to supervisor. And I was working in West District out in 51st and Parkside for years in the career development unit, working with TANF clients, people that receive cash assistance, right? And then I did that for many years. And I was at the call center for a while, which was the worst thing I've ever had to do for money, ever. It was an absolute fucking nightmare. I gained like 70 pounds. I was like 400 pounds when I left there. Stress eating, just constantly stress eating. Got back, got promoted to supervisor in 2015, and I was like, you know what, man, like I can't do this. So this is like a lot of the stuff that I was doing was what I called ad hoc social work, right? So my thought process was I'm going to get you in anything you need to get your situation right, because a lot of the stuff that we're asking you to do, we're not really taking into account what it's like to really have to do it, right? The whole thing is to get you self-sufficient and everything else. But if you're dealing with multiple kids, trying to get childcare resources for them, if you're in an abusive relationship, if you're dealing with substance abuse issues yourself, if you got post-traumatic stress disorder from other things, like I'm trying to really acknowledge that there are issues beyond just wanting to, like this idea that people just want to be on welfare and collect a check for nothing is complete bullshit.
Yeah,
I cannot stress that enough.
Yeah,
you will never hear me say anything like that ever in life. Because there's nobody on this planet that wants to sit in the welfare office at West District having us clown you like an asshole. I had a lot of co-workers that were worse than Trump saying shit directly to people's faces, and I just never understood that shit. So like that was never me, right? I'll get to the tax part in a minute. Like, you're like, this is not what you were talking about originally.
No, you.
But in the midst of all that, I always had other jobs. I worked doors in clubs for many years as a bouncer for years. And I did that for a while. And eventually I was like, you know what? This is not really for me either. I went to my high school reunion. I went to Central High School. I'm a nerd. Go Lancers, 259. And went to my 10-year reunion in 2010. And I met up with a person whose dad did taxes. Her dad does taxes. That's who I work for. And she was like, well, he needs some help. And I'm like, all right, I'll come check it out. And she told him about me, and I went to interview. At the time, the office was still in his basement. He used to work out of his house. And I went to interview, and he goes, so you work for welfare? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, you're hired. Hired me on the spot. Wow. His thought process was, if you can do that and work with people that are, distressed.
You're a people person.
You can do anything. Right.
Yeah.
So I started with that. I had my experience working for the IRS for 3 years, so I knew my way around a tax return. I enjoyed doing that kind of work, processing those paper returns when they came into the IRS office. So I enjoyed that, and I got to really be good at it. And I want to talk a little bit about the credential that I have now, right? So the thing that's interesting about what I am something called an enrolled agent. Okay. And it's a particular kind of credential that the IRS gives to you that says that you are certified by them to be a tax expert, and you can represent other taxpayers in front of the IRS if you were to get audited. Okay. So the great thing about that is there are three types of tax pros that can represent you, right? There are tax lawyers, people that pass the bar, go to law school, they do tax law, right?
Mhm.
Law school is very expensive, so that's not necessarily a thing you want to do unless you want to spend a lot of money doing it, right? There are certified public accountants, which are certified by the state in which they live and work. So if you're a Pennsylvania public accountant, you have to pass the Pennsylvania accountancy exam. You have to have a certain number of academic credits, undergraduate credits, getting a degree in accounting to do that in the first place. So again, you might be spending a little bit of money if you're trying to do that. But the great thing about the enrolled agent license is that is out of the three of them, is the lowest cost out of your pocket to do it. You don't really even need to have a high school diploma to do it. Okay, you can get the degree one of three ways. Either you have to be working at have worked for the IRS for a minimum of 5 years in a position where you have to interpret tax law and tax code, or you can test for it. And they have a standardized test that they make with Prometric that still does the SAT and the LSAT and all the other major standardized tests that are out there. It's 4 hours each section. There's individual taxes, business taxes, and ethics and practice. And once you pass each one of those exams, you can then enroll in what they call Circular 230, which is the provision in the tax code that governs tax professionals. And you are a tax professional that's certified by the IRS, and I can do it literally anywhere in this country. Okay, I have no restrictions.
So you got more pull than a CPA.
In a lot of ways, yeah. And the interesting thing about CPAs is I have similar pull in the sense that I represent them the same way a CPA does, right? But in terms of actual technical advantages here, CPAs might not really do taxes, right? CPAs do a lot of things that might be adjacent to taxes or close to taxes.
Right.
Like they might audit financial statements. They might do bookkeeping. Right, they do your books and everything else. They can certify that those books are correct to financial agency if you're trying to apply, say, for credit from banks, or if you're trying to have your agency certified for some reason by the state, right? But they might not exactly know how taxes work. Okay, I do. That's literally what my position says. I am a tax expert when it comes to federal taxes in this country. Now, what I'm required to do as a function of having this designation is they don't have the IRS doesn't care what you know about local taxes or state taxes. But of course, if I'm going to exist in this economy, I need to know where I live, how those tax systems work.
Right.
I can't dick around and not know how city taxes work, for example, because city taxes can be complicated. If you're self-employed, there's two types of taxes you have to know for city that you have to pay. If you're not, what's cute about them is they're like with all taxes is a self-reporting system in the sense that they really don't know you exist unless you tell them. Or unless certain income documents are cut on you that now mean that they're expecting to get a tax return. Right. Like at the end of the day, federally speaking, like you have your W-2s or 1099s. Those are documents that are already at the IRS headquarters, right? So they know that you made money in that year. When you file a tax return, what you're doing is telling them the circumstances under which you made that money.
Right.
Okay. So you might not just qualify for a standard deduction and just file the tax return normally. You might have itemized deductions. You might have spent a lot of money to do your job. You might have other circumstances having to do with your children or anything else that are subsidized to some extent by the IRS, that if you put them on the tax return, you'll get credits for.
Okay.
See what I mean? So at the end of the day, that's where I exist, and that's where I'm meant to exist for other people, is to tell them either do it myself or walk them through the process of how to put those things on a tax return, right?
Okay.
But with local taxes, it's the same deal. It's like, let's say you're self-employed. Let's say you don't get a regular W-2, right? Because if you get a regular W-2, you just work a job in the city, right? You pay city wage tax. Automatically comes out of your paycheck.
4% or something.
It's 3.89.
So you're screwed when you work in Fairless Hills and you live in Philadelphia.
Correct. Because what'll happen then? Well, exactly. What happens to you is that you, as a city resident, you got to be sure your payroll knows to take city taxes out. Okay. Even while you might be subject to. Okay, good. Great. You got to know that. And that's one of the reasons why payroll can suck as a job, because if you're not doing things correctly for people that have unique circumstances, like living in one place but working in another, and you might be subject to those local taxes just because you work there, but since you're a city resident, you have to pay those taxes. If they don't know that and have your shit prepared correctly, fuck your day up.
Damn.
real bad.
On some. I didn't know.
Like
Yeah,
They don't get in trouble for
yeah,
it.
no, and they don't. That's the whole point. You do, because eventually the city will send you a letter like, "Hey, you live here. You weren't paying city resident taxes this whole time."
Damn.
So we want like, hey, maybe 3 or 4. It's like usually $1,400 depending on how much your salary is. We want like $1,400 for maybe 7 years because you never paid it.
Damn.
With penalties
Yeah.
and interest. Like I've seen it happen before.
That's why.
So like,
the first thing I do. I moved jobs. Okay.
let them know.
Yep.
Please talk to your payroll. It is sacrosanct.
Yep.
It's more than just filling out that W-4. Please tell them what you are and what you are doing, because you can screw yourself up if you're not. But let me get to the deeper point here, right? Let's say you don't have a W-2 job, right? Let's say you're self-employed. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, 1099s aren't reported to the city government, at least as far as I know. I've never seen it happen before.
Right.
And you might be in a situation where maybe you work in a cash business. Maybe you're not going to get a 1099
Right.
about your contract.
Yep.
Maybe you just got paid in cash. Okay. At the end of the day, it's a self-reporting system, right?
Yep.
So if the city doesn't know you exist, they're not going to look for you. However, if you are the kind of person that needs to talk to the city to get certain licenses, business licenses, and like like if you're a contractor, you got to have certain approval to build in the city. They're going to want to know that you're paying your city taxes correct.
So like, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Please.
There's literally a pizzeria up the block here. I'm not gonna name them.
Okay.
They only accept cash.
Good
They
question. Okay.
only accept cash.
Okay.
Is there a obviously they probably don't want to pay the 2% to Visa, MasterCard, or whatever.
Correct. Which is
Just-
fair.
Right.
That's actually a great point.
Right.
Okay, because it costs money to have those financial implements to accept credit and debit cards.
Right.
Those things cost money.
Right.
The companies that have those charge you for that privilege.
Or are they trying just to fuck around?
I'll
Hey,
put it-
listen, today I made $200 when they have $700 in the bag.
I'll put it to you like this,
I mean,
right?
I know that's kind of fucked up to think about it that way, but I've been like, I want to order pizza from you, and they're like, oh, cash only. I'm like, fuck. Like, I don't even carry cash. I grew up in North Philly. Like, I
Right.
never carry cash. I know not to carry cash.
I'll put it to you like this, right? The cash at the end of the day is relatively untrackable, right?
Mhm.
But only to the extent that you don't put it in the bank or put it in places where it's known to exist and it's electronically recorded, right? So let's say they're just putting this shit under a mattress. They're cool at that point, because whatever they have to put into the bank in order to have their system run, in order to be able to pay their own bills and things like that, that's because it's bank deposits, it'll get tracked down eventually. It might take a while, but it will. Okay. But anything they're putting under a mattress, that's the great thing about cash, right? Is maybe a couple bucks fall out of my pocket on the way to the bank,
Right.
and they fall out of my house and they get pushed under the mattress.
Right.
Whoops.
Right.
No one
I
really knows
didn't
it's
know.
there. I mean,
Uh-huh.
whoops.
Well,
I'm not planning on putting that in the bank ever. I'm
yeah.
just spending it out in the world,
Right.
No one really knows. And at the end of the day, like, that's not, obviously that's not, I don't want you kids to do that out there.
Right.
Out there in podcasting. I don't want you guys to do that. But at the same time, like my responsibility is to tell you as a tax professional that all your literally worldwide income is subject to tax as an American citizen, and we have to correctly do the books. But at the end of the day, I'm not running after you to figure out your cash receipts.
Right.
I just can't do that.
Right. Exactly.
It's neither my responsibility nor is it my capability if I'm going to have more than one client.
Right.
Like, unless you're paying me enough to live on throughout the year to do your books. And even then, I don't care that much. I
Right.
don't really want to run down all your cash receipts, because who's got time for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, cash only is one of those ways in which places like they feel like they're protecting themselves. They feel like they have more control over their books, and at the end of the day, in a real practical sense, that might be true. But they got to be careful about how they're managing that cash.
I also think it's just a loss of money, because think about if they did accept debit. Credit.
Well, yeah, like number one, that's
There's
keep
a
in mind,
popular restaurant. It's a fucking Mexican restaurant. I
Mhm.
love. Obviously, I'm not gonna say their name.
Fair enough.
They're in the middle of fucking Northern Liberties.
Okay.
Great fucking food,
I know you're
amazing.
talking about too, yeah. But
And
yeah,
I'm like, what the fuck? Are you serious? I gotta use your ATM and fucking spend $6 on this goddamn ATM.
And they're
I'm just not
paid
gonna
from that.
go.
They're getting paid from that. Keep that in mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
That's
that's
money
their-
going in their pocket.
That's their way
Uh-huh.
to juggle it and
Yeah.
say, oh, we're
Yeah.
making it up on this end, and it's like,
Yup.
yeah, you probably are, but
Mhm.
think
I don't
about
think
ab-
that. Yeah. I
think-
feel you.
think about how much more money you would make as a business if you did accept.
Yeah, but
Those
I'll
also
speak to that in a minute.
I kind of feel like I
I don't know if
Because
they want to
it's
keep
like-
the authenticity.
No. That could be one thing, but I also look at it as if it's selling, it's selling. If you understand, if we're if
that's
we're
a great point.
if we're
That's a
making
great
our
point.
bottom
Yeah.
down, like for example, like let's say we have a set amount of fucking, let's say we run a pizza shop,
Mhm.
right? And it's cash business, right? It's cash only, right? And we're so popular, right? That we're selling out our fucking pizzas to the point that we don't got no more dough, no more fucking tomato
No more
sauce, cheese, whatever fucking ingredient we missing, right?
Yep.
Does it fucking matter whether we taking debit or credit or not? If we're that popular that the shit's wasting anyway, you understand? Like that everything is getting sold out. Everything is still.
You got that one pizzeria in Philly that only makes 40 pies a day.
Yeah, that's the joint Northern Liberties. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
That's
That place
another-
is yeah.
It's the pizza's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
How about
the
but
dude
that
sits
guy-
there? The dude sits there and makes it every day, but
What's
he's making a residual. It's the same amount of money every day
Right.
because those 40 pies are selling.
But that's what's interesting about that. I want to speak to both of what you just said. Right?
Yeah.
Like in really interesting ways, right? So what you just said is interesting because it's like I know I'm making money and it's selling no matter what, right? But that's the break part about supply and demand is oh shit.
I
I'm
can make
selling
more.
Yeah. If I'm selling out every day, right?
Mhm.
I could charge double for this. And let's see what happens. Like I'll double my cost and see what happens. And if you're still showing up for my pie, maybe I'll triple my cost and see what happens. You're still showing up for my pie. And keep in mind, if I still control the way I get compensated by saying that it's cash receipts and it's cash only, I'm super Gucci, right?
Yeah,
At least in theory,
In
right?
theory, yeah.
But there could be a situation where, and this is the thing that's happening, I think, for when you talk about cryptocurrency, for example, and this is a weird segue, but I'll pull it together in a minute, right? You have all these different ways in which electronic currency and cryptocurrency are really becoming important. And it's one of those things in which cash is a thing that not a lot of people carry anymore. They like just having their cards, right?
I don't carry.
They like just having, like, they don't like to have multiple bills they got to throw out there. It's literally a point of convenience for them. And at that point,
what's real quick before you elaborate, what's cryptocurrency
My bad.
in a nutshell?
in a nutshell, it's I'm not going to explain this very well at all because I only invest in the shit. I'm not necessarily understand.
Is crypto
But
technically what you do with your card? Is it?
It's
you know what I mean?
so crypto is literally like a puzzle that you have to solve, right? There's a thing called the blockchain, right? And the blockchain is a thing that exists where the chain itself is a puzzle, and if you solve a puzzle, you get rewarded for the puzzle, and you get compensated for it, and the puzzle kind of grows. It might become more complicated,
Yeah.
but solving the puzzle gets you money. Basically,
Okay.
it's something of value that you get to put in your pocket for solving the puzzle.
That sounds like a fucking
Yeah,
YouTube
it's-
tutorial
oh, man,
that I have to watch.
I hate to even talk about it in public settings because I am not super educated with it. I understand like the minimal basics of it.
But to be
at the end
fair,
of the
like
day,
that shit sounds a little bit more difficult
it
to even
really
talk
is.
about.
It actually like you can literally have a 5-hour podcast with someone that knows that shit and still not get all of it, right? Because there's literally thousands of cryptocurrencies out there. Everybody knows about Bitcoin, which is the biggest one, which is the one that just hit the wave and kept on running.
Nah, man,
But
Akon's coin, bro.
Huh?
Akon's coin. What is it?
What's it called? I forgot what it's called. I'm actually invested in another weird joint called Chainlink, right? And what Chainlink is not actually, it's not on the blockchain itself, but it's a thing that's not allegedly, but it's meant to make transactions happen easier and more secure. And I'm definitely not explaining this right, but it's a thing where it's supposed to make the blockchain better, and because of that, it's very undervalued right now, but it could be huge. I don't know, whatever. I don't want to I don't want to talk too much shit about it. The point is,
what were we coming at before this? We was talking about
money. Why it might be more beneficial to be cash versus
exactly.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. Okay. A-coin, that's what
A
it's called?
coin.
Okay. But like at the end of the day, it's like very much a supply and demand thing, but it's also very much a thing where you could end up hurting your bottom line if you're not providing an opportunity for your customers to pay for your service the way they feel comfortable paying for it. Right.
True.
So that's interesting. It's like on the one hand, you feel like you're in more control of your books, and you can. How can I say this politely?
Finagle.
Yeah, you can design profit figures in a way that benefits you by just claiming cash. But at the end of the day, if your customers want their shit on record, if they want to use their card and not pull out bills, there could be a situation where you could lose business because they're not able to pull out money
Yeah.
on demand for you, cash on demand.
I'm not
for
gonna
you.
lie,
Right.
it's probably one of the best
You know?
pizzas in this
And
zip
that's
code.
so that
And I don't order from them because I don't carry cash.
right,
I just
right.
don't.
right. And that's the thing, right? At the end
Yeah.
of the day, you might be depriving yourself of the service, but they're depriving themselves of your money,
Right.
Yeah. True.
and that's the thing to think about,
Yeah.
right?
It's just so hard because
You
even when I
have to
think
open
about
yourself up
yeah,
to make yourself available for everybody.
Like,
But the thing is, you're not.
maximizing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
maximizing
I don't
your
know
value.
what made me think about that,
Mhm.
but I'm just thinking like, how. Honestly, I know what I was thinking. How the fuck are they defrauding the system? Because they have to be,
yeah.
but there has to be no other reason. I mean, we're talking about a
Yeah.
pizzeria that's been here,
same thing with Chinese
Fuck.
restaurants and shit, nigga.
right?
You know what I mean? Like,
Oh man, I
And
can't
that's an interesting
imagine.
thing too, right? Like, it's funny because like there are things that are illegal. Like if you're actively avoiding paying tax, that's illegal in the spirit of the law, right? The actual letter of the law, it's illegal, right?
Yeah.
And then there are ways where maybe you're not doing something illegal, but you are doing things that are immoral and that are defrauding customers to some degree, right?
Yeah.
This idea, and I'm not maligning or imputing Chinese restaurants and saying this is what they do, or that their business practices are fundamentally flawed.
go ahead,
But
because I'm about to say
But
something.
real shit, I'm thinking
Stop
about
selling
like,
Lucy's.
yeah, the Lucy thing is an issue,
The Lucy thing is fucking
Especially-
illegal.
especially in these days.
Nigga, you want to get a little bit less, like more on a kid level? The fucking selling the gummy worms
Thank you.
individually,
Thank you.
the
That's
mango
wild
rings
shit.
individually.
That
The
is wild.
that is fraud. That is, bro. That is
Bro, the
capitalizing
the
off of your
fruities,
dollar saying
the
crazy.
fruities, and
Yeah.
the fruities you buy the penny
In the
candy.
fucking
Yeah.
in the
The iced
No
teas,
bag.
in the
In a
sandwich
bag.
box,
The
iced
bag.
teas.
Bag,
sandwich
yup.
bags, yeah, the
Iced
all that,
teas
yeah,
is
all that.
another thing.
So is that now
Yeah.
to explain it to you guys? It's defrauding because I don't have the ingredients list on any of that stuff. I don't
I'm
know
sure
where
that
it's
it
coming
is
from.
illegal on some level to take what is already broken down for retail value and break it down beneath the packaging.
Hence
right?
the not for resale.
Exactly.
That's like going to BJ's,
Exactly.
right? And buying a fucking 36 thing of toilet paper
Mhm.
and then selling it
They
for
tell you
$1 a piece.
explicitly you are
Mhm.
not meant to do that.
Right.
You're
Mhm.
already getting a break on buying it wholesale like that.
Mhm.
If you are doing that for retail, you're
Mhm.
you're ripping people, essentially ripping people off.
Right.
God
You
bless
got it
the
for cheap.
hood.
Right.
God
But real
bless the
shit.
Yeah.
hood.
So when people talk about a lot of those predatory practices that are happening, like sometimes even with like retail shops, like that's what they're talking about. And again, I'm not saying that all Chinese shops do this,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, there are folks out there. There's a level of, how do I put this? There's a level of grudging respect that I have for people that understand how to game the system to their advantage in that way.
Mm.
And that's what some of those places do. But at the end of the day, who's suffering? The people who live there.
You know what
Mhm.
sucks is
So, like-
going and finding out there's a nice fucking deal at the supermarket for
Mhm.
cereal. Let's put it for example.
Okay.
Like fuck, I could get 10 boxes of cereal for $12 if I just take this and this
Yeah.
coupon. And then you go and there's no fucking cereal.
Yeah.
And then you get in line to get whatever the fuck else you were gonna get. And they're like, oh yeah, this is the 7th purchase this guy has made.
True.
It's like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? And then you like the other day I was literally talking to the cashier and she's like, yeah, all they do is just put it in their stores. And I'm like, are you
Yep.
fucking
Yeah.
kidding me?
Yeah.
Like,
Pretty much.
then they go sell that shit
Yeah.
on their wick and,
Yeah.
and maximize it.
Yeah.
Oh
Boy.
my god,
Wicked.
man. It's
Yeah,
like,
bro.
what
Listen,
the fuck,
like,
dude?
I like living in South Philly, and this is not unique to South Philly at all, but I'm just saying, like, living in a city, right? I know plenty of retailers that got caught doing that shit.
Mm.
Right.
That got caught selling wholesale stuff for retail
Wow.
and lost the ability to accept those federal and state payments. They lost the ability
Mm.
to take WIC and food stamps, and that's a huge part of their revenue.
Yeah.
Hell
Can
yeah.
you, like,
What?
I knew a dude that had to sell a store because he got caught doing that shit.
Yeah.
He had to sell the store to somebody else because he got caught. They caught him. Couldn't take food stamps away.
But but the thing is, right?
Because
Dang.
the neighborhood was poor.
Yeah.
What do you do in that situation? You sell to your cousin.
Tell me more.
Yeah, you just sell to your cousin.
Oh,
Like for
keep
me,
the money in the
yeah,
family.
you keep the money in the family.
You sell it and
right?
then you get a
I sell the
profit
businesses,
cut.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
worse.
Or
It's
maybe, you know.
easy. That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. It's literally, it's so simple
So-
to fuck the system.
Yeah.
Let me
It's just-
step back a little bit and make this.
Try not to get fucked.
No, but let me step back and make this a little bit broader of a conversation or a view, like a bird's eye view of this to some extent, right? When you talk about generational wealth and the idea that black and brown people, as a general rule, like we don't have wealth the same way even white people do, let alone anybody else, right?
No
like
way.
it's literally a factor of like 10. Like we like as I forget the numbers exactly. So what I'm making up is going to be similar to this, but not exact. But as a general rule, black and brown households have like maybe $1,000 in generational wealth.
Okay.
Whereas
That's insane to think about.
whereas white households have literally 10 times that, 100 times that, because they transfer their houses to their kids for
to each
$1.
other.
But you know what I mean? They
Yeah.
sell them for $1, but those houses are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yep.
Nah, man, like all these things are really part of the larger process of why these things don't exist in a vacuum. We're not deficient in terms of generational wealth just because we're black and brown, or because somehow we culturally are deficient. That's not what's happening here. Is that at the end of the day, the access to those levers that we get to pull for generational wealth, we don't have them to the extent that other people do.
Wow.
I agree with that, and then I
You know?
disagree
Tell me
because
more.
we put ourselves in a predicament where I don't give a fuck if you're black or brown or whatever
Mhm.
the fuck you are.
Okay.
If I can make money off you and I can fuck you, I'm gonna figure out a way.
See,
Not me necessarily.
okay, I dig it.
Not me necessarily, because you're just a little bit more open to the world.
Uh-huh.
But you go to a North Philly corner store where we grew up at. They're owned by some type of Hispanic guy,
Right.
whatever the case is.
Fair
Whether
enough.
he's, whatever the case is, he's Puerto Rican, Dominican, whatever the fuck he is. He's gonna find a way to fuck you. You're gonna sit there and buy a box of fucking whatever the fuck. He'll sit there and make a sandwich for you, right?
Right.
Be the best sandwich of your life, right?
Right.
Great fucking sandwich, and then he'll charge you a fucking food stamp card. It'll be $7, and he spent shit. If he spent $3 on that sandwich,
but that's the markup, right? And that's kind of that. So to some extent, some of these systems and some of these ways of making money, particularly if you're talking about retail or food service and all that, they always existed. The markup is not fundamentally exploitative necessarily, right? But it always existed.
right?
Like at the end of the day, foods like the goods to make a hoagie cost maybe $1 if you're buying them wholesale.
Yeah.
Like if I buy a whole bunch of tomatoes, a whole bunch of onions, a lot of pounds of cheese, and I'm making these things for consumers on a retail basis, it only costs me on average per sandwich $1 to make.
Right.
I'm charging $5 for the convenience because I'm hooking you up with this great
It's
sandwich.
convenience. That's like Ticketmaster, basically.
You know what I mean? Like so the markup to some extent always exists, and you can have several really serious conversations as to whether or not that's fundamentally exploitative or not.
Yeah.
I'm not on the page yet because I believe in socialism to some extent, but I'm not necessarily begrudging anybody making $1 capitalistically off of the markup. I'm not necessarily begrudged to that, but there are certain people and certain systems in which
they make
that markup
$30 off that markup.
Like, that's what I'm
What
saying.
the fuck,
Because
dude?
a lot of times maybe they're not even paying for the goods.
Right.
Maybe they're getting the goods elsewhere, or what they're usually will pay for wholesale. They're figuring out a way to fuck you on a very it's not the system. They got to hook up in the system, right? So they're cutting out. They're undercutting what other people usually have to go through to do the markup, and they're getting maybe 10, 20, 30% more than the other person is because they're able to do that, right? And that's part of the police. I don't really know how to stop that necessarily,
right?
But that's the thing that's happening. Okay, so I don't know. Like it's weird. Like I don't begrudge anybody in the hood making money, but at the end of the day, like you talk about a lot of the things that are happening in the hood, food deserts. Yeah, people that don't have access to food, fruits and vegetables.
No,
like water, like really like the services that you
The
see.
fundamentals.
Yeah, exactly. The fundamentals, right? You know what I mean? You have the lack of access to these goods and services that you see in richer communities, and that's the problem, and that's the thing that at the end of the day is happening because of nefarious agents that are doing things explicitly to fuck people.
You look at Trader Joe's.
Yep.
And you look at fucking Whole Foods, and you're like, where the fuck is there Whole Foods around here? But guess what? If you want organic fish from not a fucking farm bred, whatever the fuck, like literally like wild caught fish, you gotta go all the way the fuck over there to buy it.
Yep.
From the hood, me growing up, I'm getting that mutant fish from fucking Cousins.
Yeah, that's a shame, dude.
Yeah, we
Yup.
going straight to Cousins.
Yeah.
Well, and the closest fucking Whole Foods that I know of is what 19th and fucking Callow Hill.
Yes.
Around the block from
It's not where I'm
CCP.
gonna go at. It's not where I'm
Yeah,
gonna go at.
nowhere
Trader
near.
Joe's. I told my wife yesterday. I was like, I've never even been in a Trader Joe's.
I don't even see me living near there,
Right.
like in the city. Like so,
it's
let
that
alone,
deep. Like, wow, I've never. But that just exposes us to like, there's no healthy foods out there.
Yo,
For
the
us. There's
irony
no
of that
healthy
shit,
foods
bro.
out there.
Real quick, the irony of that shit. The fact that I love the convenience that's killing me.
McDonald's.
N-
McDonald's,
Bro,
all
just
day.
being in the hood. Who
Oh,
gives a
man.
fuck? I'm not even talking about the level of McDonald's. I'm talking about the level as far
Speaking of
as
which, I'm
going
hungry.
to the corner and getting a pincho, or going to this corner and getting whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? A bakery or whatever. You know, like that shit is killing us. That ain't the top of the line shit where we eating at Freddie and Tony's and shit like that. That ain't the top of the line fucking chicken
Fuck no.
or nothing like that. You know, it's like, bro, like and you love. It's ironic you love the convenience that's killing you.
Yeah.
Look at every.
Cause I love it.
Look at every Hispanic.
That's a bar, bro. You should.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a bar.
Yeah.
That's a hot line.
Right.
Hold on,
But
hold on,
you look at poor communities.
I'm serious, bro.
Yeah.
You look
That's
at
a
poor
bar.
communities, right? And the first thing you see is that there's number one, that there's obesity, there's high blood pressure, there's
Yep.
diabetes.
Yeah.
Salt, bro. They throw salt. You throw
Salt.
salt in everything, bro.
Sugar.
Sugar,
Oh
bro.
my
Bro,
God.
Kool-Aid growing up for me. Shit, I drunk Kool-Aid like black people do. I swear to
Listen.
God, I used to dump
I got
pounds
an
of sugar in that
old head
shit.
named Uncle D from Southwest. He just lost the sight of his eye over that shit.
It's crazy to
Yeah.
think about shit like that.
So what's interesting about that is that these are literally things that so these are human conditions, right? Anybody that overexposes themselves to sugar is going to experience this. Is going to
Yeah.
experience diabetes and everything else, right?
Mm.
But it's the idea and the fact that poor communities, because they have less of not only do they have less access to healthier goods, right? But those unhealthy goods are cheap.
Mhm.
That's the key more
That's
than
the
anything
thing.
else. They're cheap. They're easy to get. You know, like I look at this, like one of the great controversies that we've had in the city recently is the sugar tax, right? The sugary drink tax, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
The new taxes
Yeah.
came up. Yeah.
And it's like one of those things where on the one hand, as someone who kind of likes public policy and like studies this shit a little bit, I kind of like sin taxes. And what a sin tax is, it's sin literally, like when you're paying out of the ass to engage in behavior that is probably unhealthy. So one of two things will happen when you have to pay that tax, right?
Okay.
Either you'll stop the behavior
Oh, okay.
because you can't afford it,
right?
or
pay it.
or
You're
the
just gonna pay
money
that
will
shit.
go to improve resources, improve
Yeah.
services.
That's like
Yeah, so
marijuana in fucking Colorado. It's
And
like 40% taxed out there.
what they realize, and that's a whole other thing there. But at the end of the day, what they I think are finally beginning to realize about things like marijuana is at the end of the day, you tax it correctly. Not only are you getting crazy money into your coffers, right? Okay, you can actually pay for services that if you want to like put out education and maybe stem the use of the substance, fine.
You mean the
right?
public youth surplus the public education
Right.
surplus that they bro, it was like fucking like $20 million in surplus that they had, and it's like,
That's beautiful.
what the fuck?
Yeah.
Just off marijuana,
Mhm.
bro.
If they're putting it in the right place, it's
Right.
fine.
So that's
Right.
that's one of the things that I like about sin taxes, right? I like the fact that either you'll change the behavior or you'll get a lot of money coming in, right?
Yeah.
But here's the drawback, right? As a general rule, sin taxes are what they call regressive. What that means is
It
that
affects
basically
poor people.
Yeah.
affects poor people first, it affects poor people worse.
Yeah.
Okay, that's exactly right.
Because of that convenience.
Because at the end of the day, they have less money to spend, obviously. So more of their disposable income is getting eaten up by that tax.
Yep.
Anybody that's got a few bucks can either drive somewhere to where the sin tax doesn't exist,
Right.
or doesn't give a fuck about paying it.
That's like insurance. I get insurance, right? My insurance payment, full coverage for my car is 2 times, 3 times more than somebody in the suburbs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I literally had this conversation 2 days ago. The guy was like, "How much do you pay for insurance?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Bro, for one car, I pay X amount." They were like, "I pay that for 4 cars."
Yeah.
I was like, "What the
And
fuck?"
what's interesting about the insurance industry is that on the one hand, they're allegedly
It's
not
more
even
expensive
allegedly,
to be poor.
like I understand where they're coming from because they're trying to hedge their bets. If they've done studies like the actuarial sciences and everything else, and by the way, if you ever want to really make a lot of money, be an actuary, be someone that studies insurance and risk for money, because these guys make 6 figures by sneezing. Okay, they make a lot. It's hard, but if you want to be an go learn actuarial science, work in the insurance field, 6 figures by breathing funny, right?
Wow.
But like if their studies suggest that it's going to cost them more money over time to cover someone in a certain area than not a certain area. Like, I get it. They have the right to kind of make their money and figure out ways to do the markup, right? Again, the markup, right? They're trying to hedge their risk. They're trying to get paid. They're trying to make sure that the CEOs of their company have the yachts and can afford to pay the mortgage on the 6th vacation home, right? But at the same time, that's the thing that's fucked up about it, is that there are factors that go into that are beyond just someone being that risk doesn't exist in a vacuum. I'm not just automatically, for whatever reason, more prone to get in a car accident in a city just because I'm black and I live in a city. No. Right. There are reasons for that. Right. Whether there's traffic issues, whether cars. You know what I mean, more cars. Like, there are reasons that go beyond my control, but I'm suffering from that markup, right? Okay. So I don't know. Like, it's tough. Like some of these things are not going to be fixed necessarily, but the more you are aware of them, the better decisions you can make when you become a consumer trying to get these things to protect yourself.
Okay.
But
you know,
that example to me adds to the fact that it's more expensive to be poor.
Period.
Than it is.
Period.
To be rich.
That's not a discussion.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like as much as people, there's a great article. There was one that was done more from an anecdotal perspective, just talking about her own personal experience. And there's another article that I remember reading that really talks about, no, you spend more money as a poor person.
You damn right.
Comparably than anyone else that has.
Think about it this way, right? Cool. I'm spending less money because I'm eating McDonald's and you're eating at a 5-star restaurant. But my health bill in a couple years is gonna be 10 times more than yours is. I'm gonna be shitting my pants and being
even if you get Medicaid, right? Even if you're not experiencing any of those costs up front, right? The public experiences those costs because the amount of money that the public has to spend, because that's publicly provided, to take care of your amputee fees, to take care of any kind of
insulin.
Any kind of after the fact care. There's a word for it and it escapes me right now. None of the palliative stuff, none of the preventative stuff, right? I'm talking about things that you have to do when you are actually experiencing the consequences of that behavior, right? Nah, that's different. And that's something that might be diffused publicly, but everybody spends more money and it's more expensive
to be poor than it is. Yeah.
Bottom line.
Because think about it. Yeah. My interest rate is going to be higher than yours in my credit card just because I'm
look at this. I like this.
Bro,
who goes to prison for tax evasion? The answer to that really should be. See, it's interesting, right? I wasn't telling you guys this actually. I just realized I was having this conversation elsewhere. But like, there's basically 2 types of people that the IRS essentially goes after, right? There are really rich people that might be hiding money offshore, right, or might be engaging in different kinds of tax evasion schemes.
That's the shit you see in movies, right?
Right. You know,
Switzerland.
Like anywhere offshore, right? Anywhere, like the Caribbean, Switzerland, stuff like that, right? And then you have your essential garden variety earned income credit fraud, EIC fraud. This is where I was going to go when I talk about those refundable credits that are great because they go right in your pocket, right? And you see the memes that people have when it's tax time and everybody balling and whatever else. Like, at the end of the day, all that's cute, but I don't like it because on the one hand, I look at that as a sense of poor shaming. And the bottom line is that earned income tax credit is one of the best things that the government has ever done to combat poverty. It's actually a Nixon thing. As ironic as that is, considering what kind of asshole he was. Jesus. But it's actually a Nixon thing. Like, it's money that is the government is putting right in your pocket to be able to give you the necessities to combat poverty, right? And I know people that have been able to take those earned income tax credit checks and pay rent for 6 months. They guarantee themselves a house. They guarantee themselves the ability to function for a while.
Down payment for a house.
But at least it's being able to pay rent. They have the house, have the shelter.
Right.
If you're constantly in low wage work, at the end of the day, where you're not getting ahead, at the very least, that earned income tax credit check or that tax refund, which might be 30% or more of your yearly salary,
right?
That's a lifesaver.
I don't know how the fuck we did it. We saved 3 years worth of fucking income tax
God
to
bless
put a
you.
down payment.
That's the goal, right? Like if you're able to do that, the Pollyanna, the pie in the sky dream is that you're able to leverage that lump sum, those lump sums of money, into situations where you can get out, you can actually mobily move up, you can get out of situations, right? That's not going to happen to everybody, and as a general rule, it really doesn't. But it's great if you can, because that's what that money is not necessarily meant to do. But if you can do it, it's beautiful. Damn. Beautiful. Oh, look at this.
Cheating the system. Biggest tax evasion cases in American history.
And they're very, like, literally, you got a guy in Al Capone who was an actual bona fide murderer. Straight up criminal,
Lauren
right?
Hill,
and the only reason he went to jail was not for any of those crimes that he committed, because he did not pay Uncle Sam.
Isn't that what happened to well, not necessarily Uncle Sam, but it was not El Chapo, the other fucking guy. What was the other guy? Pablo Escobar.
Yeah.
He got caught when he was running for office.
Yep.
Because of taxes.
Yep. Bottom line.
That money he got caught because of taxes.
So
crazy.
That $270,000 is worth today $4+ million.
Yep.
In today's dollars. Absolutely. Just to put it in perspective, because if you look up Al Capone and his fucking tax evasion, they'll say $270,000. No, that was then. Now that money is worth about $4+ million in today's dollars.
I'm mad Blade went to jail.
Yo, see, the rest of these cases are usually your garden variety, either tax evasion, or they took what are called what's the word? I had the word in my head and lost it. They took a frivolous position. Okay, like with and frivolous positions are things where people they think they're on solid legal footing or legal footing with this, but they're like, no, like the bottom line is you have to pay income. Right, like I forget exactly what Wesley Snipes' position was, or exactly what he said, but basically he was arguing essentially that income tax is not real. That that legally he and no one is under any obligation to actually pay income tax.
That's what he said.
What?
Yeah, that's what the position he was taking.
He was taking that nobody has to really that it's
exactly like he was following a frivolous position, and because he stuck to that. And then refused to pay when they came down on him. That's why he ended up going to jail.
So there was a thing that it was like a Bleacher Report thing, and it was Michael Vick, and he was sitting there talking about the most painful moments of his life. The most painful moment of his life that he said was not him going to jail for the dogs. It was him having to pay his bonus, like the bonus when the taxes came. He's like, he was like, just think about it. You made X amount of dollars and it's gone. Half of it's gone. Right? He's like, that shit was like so painful to me. Like, fuck, like this, I thought I was good for the rest of my life.
Right.
And now I got to find a way to make that up. That's crazy to think.
Here's the thing about that, because that doesn't exist in a vacuum either, right? It's like, it's not like he just had to give it back, right? He probably did not adjust. And this is the thing that a lot of athletes, professional athletes, deal with, right? For all the money that he had to spend to have someone manage his shit. Because that's what really the issue is, right? At the end of the day, you got to figure that when you're in that income bracket, nowadays it's 37.5%, right? And like I was telling you before, right? It's not the whole thing that's subject to that. It's incremental, it's marginal, right? So the first $10,000 is just 10%. The next is just 12, going up to 25 and 28, and then 32 and 37, right? Okay. So yeah, the millions of dollars is subject to 37%, right?
Right.
But keep in mind, he still has to pay up front 10% to his agent.
Yeah.
Another 10% to his financial advisor.
Manager.
Okay.
And if he does have a manager.
Or a lawyer.
Okay. Some people have both. Some people have an agent and a manager.
Right.
And
okay.
you know what I mean?
There's all kinds of money that come out pre-tax. Okay, which means
not liquid.
That before the tax guy gets paid, the people that help you get paid first.
That's crazy.
See what I mean? So at the end of the day, it's not like they just took his money back. No. It's that he didn't account for all the other money he was spending.
Yeah, look at that.
See, and that's the thing to remember about this. If you do that, it's not that bad. And I got to be careful about this, because the living within your means thing is a very interesting phrase and a very interesting sentence. Because on the one hand, it is important to know what your means are, right? But so many people get those checks and you don't realize how much of that money you're really going to have to come up off of before it actually goes in your own pocket. Right. And a lot of that is just simple ignorance.
Yeah, it's like the music industry. You watch these guys with this 360 deals.
These 360 deals. When I found out what a 360 deal was for the first time, I'm like, oh, I get this now. Now I understand why the music industry's so fucked up. Like, that's bananas. And then what an advance really is, it's a loan, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, that's not your money.
Loan.
You got to pay that back. That's not yours.
with interest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like if you have a fucking I remember seeing something about if you don't make a certain amount of dollars back from your project or whatever,
Yeah.
it's like they
You owe
gotta get
them money.
You owe that money. Like
so if you're not busting your ass torn, if you don't have an act or talent enough to where you can guarantee, because usually they don't have any unless they got a 360 deal and they have fingers in your teeth.
Yeah.
Let's say they don't have that, right?
Yeah.
If you're not an act where you can go out and constantly make money independent of what the record label says to you, and you're an act to the record label, it's a rat for you.
Yeah.
It's a rat.
That's why I preach independence.
Oh,
no
man.
matter, I don't give a fuck if you're not as big as Drake.
You don't have to be.
Drake, guess what? Drake only sees about 12-13% of his fucking money, bro, of what he generates.
After taxes and everything he has to spend to other people.
He gets robbed. Even Apple, all the streaming, he only sees about 12% of what he generates.
That's crazy because growing up, I remember hearing Eminem went diamond, right? And then you're like, oh, he only made $2 out of every fucking CD.
Oh yeah.
They can only wish that they make that money now.
Oh yeah.
That's
nowadays,
insane to think.
What,
oh my
10
God.
cents?
The way streaming works, it's like fractions of a penny.
It's fractions of a penny.
On billions of streams.
1,000 streams is like a one cell. What?
More than that. It depends what. It
Nah,
depends.
I think
which,
1,000 streams equal a cell.
No,
right?
it depends which streaming service.
Yeah.
Oh,
Some
all
streaming
right.
services like Tidal pays more than Apple Music,
Yeah.
and Spotify pays
Yeah.
more than Apple.
Spotify was apparently a wholesale criminal enterprise, essentially. Like just in terms of like what they were getting for money, getting compensated for streaming your music, and what you were getting as the artist, person that creates the content for them to sell. Can you imagine that? Like it's weird. So again, we're talking about the markup, right? And we're talking about the ways in which people make money off of your labor.
I'm
and
sorry.
everything else.
Hold on. This motherfucker owed $200+ million in taxes.
That name doesn't sound familiar. What's
in the largest ever criminal tax case against an individual.
I gotta look him up.
The telecom entrepreneur who once tried to rescue the what the fuck is that? It's too small for me to see. Mirror space? That shit don't even zoom. He tried to touch it.
The Mir space station.
The Mir space station.
Yeah. Okay.
Served about 6 years in prison and is still fighting his case. Damn, that nigga. How you still in there fighting your case and you 200 down in the hole?
That's
damn.
So
not 200,000.
So he's 20 DMXs.
So this is clearly a billionaire, right? Because you figure if he owes 200 million, let's say that's
with telecom too.
Yeah, and telecom industry is phones and everything else. Like the markup on phones is bananas. Like forget about even just the technology these days, right?
$7 worth the iPhone.
Like there's a reason why the federal government had to step in, like the Obama phones and everything else. That's the federal government stepping in to the telecom industry, going, listen, you were ripping people off for carrier fees for years, like ripping them off, charging shit that isn't even real.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna take some of that money back and create a program for low income people to have cell phone coverage,
right?
Because you were robbing people with carrier fees that don't even make any sense for years.
In good legal big terms, they were saying you was robbing them motherfuckers.
Nah, real shit. So like the telecom industry in and of itself is
what
one
the
of those
fuck
things
is a
where the government has to
911
get
fee?
into it.
A 901 fee?
911 fee.
Yes.
On my fucking bill, I was like, why am I paying to call 911? Yeah. Bro, it's like $11 a month.
Yep. Have you ever called
on your bill?
All right. When's the last time you called 911?
Wait.
Think about that. Yeah.
There's a fee on your phone bill. It's called the 911 fee.
This is what I need to know. What the all right.
I asked to remove it. They said they couldn't.
All right. That's
I won't call 911.
This is why you got look. I'm gonna tell y'all, and this is why I'm amazed by this shit. When you don't have service on your phone, the only person you could call is fucking 911. And then when you got service on your phone, they charge you for this shit. It don't make no sense. You could take the SIM card out and you could still call 911 on that bitch. You pay for it,
which is also scary to think of.
And they start charging you for that.
It's also scary to think of that you can still make a phone call if your phone is not active.
Yeah.
How fucking creepy is that?
Shit
crazy. Just like when we did the test on fucking on Facebook. Me and my wife, we were like, what the fuck? We keep getting these ads for shit we talk about.
Yeah.
You know what? We don't have a dog. Let's talk about dog food. So we would just, in the middle of our conversation, we go, Alpo, dog food. Alpo, Alpo. We did this for like a month. motherfucker, them fucking ads started popping up for dog food on my shit. I was like, what the fuck?
That is bananas.
It does.
I was like, yo,
bananas.
I'm
data,
done.
bro. Data runs the fucking world.
Yeah, that is the
information.
Yeah,
information, bro. Data. That what's the fucking phone number? Nah, phone numbers change every other day. Data, email, all that crazy shit where they could get
information.
Why do you think they say what's your email? Every fucking place. What's your email? You don't have it. Are you? I can't go to the next step if you don't give me an email. Like they literally.
Then I can't buy the product.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm leaving the fucking store.
Yeah.
I don't care if I'm gonna buy this unicorn hat.
Even like in a smaller, you know, in a smaller type of situation, comics, comedians, the big time comedians like Joe Coy or anybody, you know what I mean? Majority of those dudes, Bill Burr, all those dudes, they blew up off of data, bro. They blew up off of getting people's emails in those shows coming up.
Yeah.
And then they and maintaining this.
It still happens, yo. We went to this.
day.
There's this thing called fuck. What is it called? God damn it. I don't know. Whatever. So basically, it's these. You go, you pay $15, and it's a secret show, and then it's in Philly, and it's a venue, and you'll pop up in whatever venue it is, and there's 3 acts. They'll come out and they'll play either an instrument or sing or do a comedy act or whatever it is. It's a really cool fucking night because half of it is BYOB. So like me and my wife will go. We'll have a couple beers and listen to whatever. It's $15 fucking bucks. We'll go home. We'll be home at 10 o'clock. It's a good Tuesday night.
Yeah.
But they'll give you the mailing list in the middle of the act. You gotta fucking put your email and shit. And then you're like, okay, cool. And then you got this guy's fucking CD that sings fucking about the wilderness, and you're like, fuck you, dude. Like I don't care. But you wanted not to be a dick, or maybe you were drunk like me. Right. And you wrote your fucking email thing. I'm still getting fucking emails. I had to unsubscribe like 7 times already. Yep. It's insane. It's
crazy
just a
shit.
cycle, dude.
It's like, even though you don't give a fuck about that shit, somebody does.
Oh yeah.
Like
your information is valuable to someone.
Yeah. And then especially if you have like a following, like a fan base or cult following type thing. Like if someone comes to see me, let's say I'm a comedian, somebody comes to see my comedy stand up, even if it was 8 years ago or whatever, if they saw it that one time and they're a fan of me, I have connection to those people forever. So even if it's 8 years from now, that motherfucker will probably come to a show that was, you know what I mean, that's scheduled at that time, bring 10, 16 other motherfuckers with them.
Word of mouth.
And then,
any other way, even if it's digital, right?
Yeah.
Word of mouth.
Best promotion is word of mouth for sure.
Yeah.
Yo, Martha Stewart really went to jail for only 220 grand.
Yeah, it was an insider trade. Was it insider trade?
Yeah, it was insider trading.
It was something.
She basically
got the hookup, right?
Somebody was like, yo, this company's gonna fucking go belly up.
Right.
Take all your fucking money out. And it was the up top that told her that. So when so when Martha Stewart takes her money out, everybody takes their money out because everybody's watching her.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
And it was a tax issue that I think she went to jail for because maybe they couldn't prove the insider trading. I forget exactly what it was.
Right.
But she 10 toes down, right? That was the thing. She didn't say who it was.
Yep.
She didn't say how she knew.
Yep.
She said, "All right, you got me for the tax evasion," and went to jail.
That's why hip hop. That's why hip hop fuck with her because she ain't rap.
Because she never told what happened.
Yep.
Look, but you look at Lindsey Vonn.
That's wild to me, man.
Lindsey Vonn,
Olympic skater,
Olympic skier. And she was fucking Tiger Woods for a very long time.
She was.
And she's fucking this guy now.
Who?
The black guy for Montreal. He's
the bull PK.
PK Subban.
Yeah.
All right, I need a little bit of elaboration with this dude because his tax bill, I'm not too far from that. So that shit kind of makes me panic a little bit, but only the second vice president.
I was getting ready to say that's the key here to get caught for tax fraud. That guy was that's Nixon's vice president. That's why this is a big deal. You know what I mean? It's not
even
so
for just 10 grand.
Well, yeah, he's the fucking vice president.
Oh, so
all right. You know what I mean?
They're gonna pinch you, bro, and then you're Nixon's vice president.
He's the only one going through tax. But
the second one ever. I think, if I remember correctly, what's his name? Bush's Bush's vice president, Quayle. I think Quayle has some income tax problems too.
Yeah,
I could be wrong about that.
But that's also like I look at this and I'm like, these people have enough money to have A bookkeeper.
This is the whole. Well, and here's the thing. Even about their debts, right? How much money they got here. They got enough money to pay these. Maybe not in one shot, but they can give it on payment plans that is not a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Let me even talk a little bit about that, right? At the end of the day, IRS nowadays in particular is fairly flexible about payment plans. It takes a long time and a lot of ignoring them to get to the point where they start going into your shit and taking it.
Okay.
It takes a while for that to happen before they start issuing levies and liens, and confiscating your property and garnishing your wages. You gotta really
you sound like a commercial,
huh?
You sound like a commercial.
Like real shit. Like
no, real
like
shit.
Real shit though. It's like it's one of those things where like what I'm really trying to sell people on is talk to them.
Yeah.
If you got to get a rep, and I'll definitely be a commercial for my own shit.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
You know, Kavanaugh's Tax Service, now 6921 Frankfurt Avenue, Suite E.
Repeat that one more time, please.
Kavanaugh's Tax Service LLC down at 6921 Frankfurt Avenue, Suite E. Handle all your tax problems all the time.
Nice.
But at the end of the day, it's like, thank you very much.
You see the ones.
It's one of those things where you have to really endeavor to ignore them for a long time before they start to take your stuff, right? At the end of the day, they're flexible about payment plans. They're flexible by having automatic debits come out where they'll make it really easy for you to pay it off. It'll take a while. Because what they'll do is the rule of thumb is, let's say you have a tax debt of, if you have tax debts that are under $20,000, they're obligated by law to take whatever plan you offer them. Okay, first off. If it's under 20K, they're going to take whatever plan you offer them. Okay. Between 20 and 50K, there's some flex within that. 50K and up, you have to actually give them substantiation of your situation before they take payment plans. There are forms you have to fill out. There's a form called a 433 A through F, where they go through your entire living expenses, and they might give you some standard deductions for certain things depending on the place where you live, if the expense itself is really outsized. But they have to go through your whole living expenses before they take deals if you owe them that much money. But anything less than that, if that balance due is 20K or less, usually the rule of thumb that they have is they'll take that balance due and divide it by 72. They'll give you 6 years to pay it off. Okay. So whatever that balance due is divided by 72, it'll be that on a monthly basis. Okay.
Holy shit.
They will charge you to set up payment plans unless you decide to do a direct debit from your bank account, in which case they won't charge you at all. But if you're one of those people where it's like, well, I don't want you in my bank shit, I'll just write you a check every month. I'll charge you $225 for that.
Okay.
Right? But as a general rule, they are really flexible about working with you if you owe them money. Okay. And obviously any refunds you get subsequent to that when you file taxes, they would take it to go toward that.
You know
what I mean? But at the end of the day, you got to work really hard or have a lot of money to get where these people are. On this website, when you get to this point, these folks were doing things for a while and really thought they were going to get away with it.
And
or to a lesser extent, rich people sometimes have problems with competent representation and competent workforces too. You might have accountants or tax pros that weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing. Maybe some of them were hard to get in contact with, and they dipped out. So they just did, okay, I guess I'm not filing these returns, or I filed returns that were substandard and they got picked out of the audit file, and it is what it is. Someone like Lauryn Hill must be an absolute nightmare to work for professionally as a tax advisor or financial advisor, because she doesn't strike me as the kind of person who mentally cares about money.
Okay.
You dig what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like just her attitude about how she performs her job. If I get there 4 hours late, I'll perform.
Yeah.
Real shit. Can you imagine that you pay $200 to watch this lady sing, and she shows up 4 hours late and may not go on?
Yeah, that's bad.
So I can imagine what it must be like to have to work for her professionally to manage her finances.
Damn.
Who knows if she's getting you anything that she needs? Who knows if she's telling you what she needs to know? You know, I got to be the person that goes to every venue and say, please give me the receipt. Give me the 1099. Do not mail it to her house. Like, give it to me. I have to have everything.
Know what the fuck?
Real shit.
She don't care.
Who knows who she's paying to help her out, right? What money arrangements she might have with other people where she's giving money to people. And it might even be a tax deductible thing. You might actually be paying this person for a service. Yeah. Right? That's a service to you. They're giving you emotional support. And you pay them $50,000 a year.
Ain't it crazy?
I need to know about it though.
Ain't it crazy how these listen, these IRS motherfuckers, you could tell that they hard asses when they want to, because
when they quote unquote have to be.
Because what I mean by it is because when Wesley went to jail, allegedly, I don't know, maybe it's factual, but he offered them to pay whatever amount of money. They said, if I'm not mistaken, I think they took the money and said, nah, nigga, you still going to jail.
If I remember that correctly, I think he
One
was,
or the other, right?
Yeah, I gotta look it up because this case was so goofy. Because again, he was taking a frivolous tax position. That was his issue. He was basically saying, "No, I don't actually owe you this money, and I'm gonna continue to believe this until you show me something substantiating that I'm wrong." Yeah. And they're like, "No, this right here, bro. This is the tax code. Like, this the IRC and whatever. It's like it's right here. You have to pay us this money." He goes, "I don't believe that."
You know, it doesn't surprise me. Wesley strikes me as that type of hard ass. Like, what you mean? I'm Blade, nigga. Like, exactly. Like I can imagine Blade on the stand, yeah. Or any character.
I was
you
passenger
think about
57.
I was just while you were studying the tax code, I was studying the Blade. It's like, oh, never mind.
I was teaching white men how to jump. You know what I mean?
I gotta look up his junk because his situation was somewhat unique in the sense that it was the position that he was taking. He had really poor, again, like obviously poor tax advice. It was the position that he was taking that was causing such a the issue with the IRS. Yeah. You know what I mean? Even when they were trying to go through the settlement process, and he was saying, "Yeah, like, okay, I'll pay you this." Yeah. I think he was basically saying, "But I'm still gonna keep doing this." And they're like, "No, you're not getting it. So maybe you need to go to jail."
Yeah. And you know how how I could tell it stressed him out a little bit when he went to jail for a little bit. He came out with cornrows. Corny ass cornrows, bro. Like I'm talking about, like, you see these locks, these are beautiful.
Thank you, sir.
These are nice.
Thank you very much.
When a motherfucker come out with whack ass cornrows and you 50 and they don't got no hang time, you like, you know what? Yeah, you went through some stress in jail.
Yeah, the AI hang time when they used to burn them. Remember, you be like, how come AI hang time not as long as Richard Hamilton's? Because how Rip, goddamn,
Rip was the man too.
Hell yeah, yo.
But again,
I think we're gonna need Taylor back, yo.
Right.
Another one, because he has a lot of game to give us.
We've been here for 2 hours.
2 fucking hours, and it flowed.
Listen,
it flowed.
I got plenty more where that came from.
Yeah, bro. We gotta hit you with a part 2 for real.
Yeah,
I'm with it, man.
Because shit, I'm just trying to
figure out
we could be sitting. No, we could be sitting here all day and talk. We did fucking 5 hours before we done. But I'm thinking about the listeners' feelings, but we need a part 2 because you got a lot of game.
I'm down for a call-in session. Like, again, if people want to call in and ask questions,
we could do it.
Oh man,
that's a good idea.
Please,
that's a real good one.
Like,
of course. Listen,
I'm here for all your all your demands. I'm here for it.
Anybody out there, Philadelphia, wherever the fuck y'all listening from, or whatever, because you can either go see this man or you can give him a call and he'll give you the advice right through the phone.
Shoot us an email.
Shoot us an email, whatever it is.
basementstatements@gmail.com, baby.
Let me also pit the business real quick. Again, to Kavanaugh's Tax Service LLC, we are at 6921 Frankfurt Avenue, Suite E. Our phone number is 267-343-4622. Email is Philadelphia Tax Resolution, all one word, @gmail.com. Philadelphia Tax Resolution, all one word, @gmail.com. We are accessible 11 to 7 every day, except for the weekends, unless it's tax season, when we're there all the time. So we're always around. And listen, man, I got knowledge for days, man. Like,
we'll definitely put all that in the link of the bio too, of the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. If y'all too fucking lazy to do y'all due diligence and get that information, just DM us on Instagram and we'll link y'all right with him. That way y'all can get the this man, he's gonna take care of y'all. I mean, like, mouth, man, I'm with it. For sure. Anything else that you want to give them?
Let me just say this.
Instagram, anything like that?
I'm too old for Instagram.
But go ahead. You can give
I do have a Facebook. Again, my name is Taylor Keat. That's Keitt. You can find me on Facebook. I forget exactly what my URL
moniker.
Yeah, I forget what it is, but you can look me up there. And at the end of the day, I want to say this about taxes. At the end, like, it's really important for people to not be paralyzed by what they don't know, not be paralyzed by fear. You always make things 10 times worse than they are by not reacting to letters you get from any tax agency. If you trust somebody like me, come talk to me. If you want to go out and even just hit the phone book and ask around, get correspondence help, get tax help. Do not let these things snowball, because an ounce of prevention is a pound of cure. I got plenty of old people aphorisms like that. Right there. I can go on forever, but at the end of the day, that's what that is, man. Do not let these things snowball.
Right.
If you have questions and have issues, talk to somebody.
Right. And with that said, It's another episode of fucking Basement Statements. man.
Again.
That's
You
right.
know,
And we still loving it. We still
Right.
going with it.
Right.
You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
We about to be the fuck out. Well, we not. We gonna stick around.
Y'all gonna
for
be
a
the
little
fuck
bit,
out.
But y'all gonna be
We
the
still
fuck
got
out
beer
here.
to drink,
Exactly.
right?
Y'all already know, man. It's
All right.
Basement
I need
Statements.
another refresca.
This guy. I'm Gigi Reed.
Right, I'm Nell.
Frank.
I got, and that's franchise. This
Right.
motherfucker.
Word.
And
He's
SI
not
is
cool
on the
enough
side,
yet.
like always. That's the young boy right there.
Feel me.
He's so young. I love it.
And we out of here.
We out.
Peace.
That was awesome, man.
Thank you.
Word.
Thank you for the game.
Nah, man, nah. Like, it's
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Nah, like, this is very exciting to me because
Hell yeah.
sharing
A
that
lot of people
information.
listening. They need to know that.
Nah, man, real shit. Real shit.
I got like, mind you, especially people, you know what I mean, in the hood and shit
Right.
like that.
Bro.
I could tell you a